Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. I am Kevin Rogers, and thank you for joining us here on this Thursday, June 17th, 2021, as we look ahead to the NBA playoffs tonight, game number 6 between the Bucks and the Nets, which should be a very exciting game this evening from Milwaukee, and the Bucks looking to close out the Nets, the Nets looking to close out the Bucks. If you shut off the game in the third quarter of Game 5, you would have thought this would have been Game 6 and done for Milwaukee, but they need a win to keep this series going. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Also, we'll get to the big meltdown in Philadelphia by the Sixers against the Hawks. We'll talk about that as well as look at the Major League Baseball card for today. But first, want to remind you about the Daily Insider contest, which we have every single day from Monday through Friday here on the show. And it's very easy to enter. You just have to have your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet for the day, and you put in the comments section below this video. And your best bet can be Major League Baseball, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, WNBA. It doesn't matter. It just cannot be a live bet. It's got to be before the game. And also, it could be a player prop bet if you want. It could be a side, a total, a first 5-inning play in baseball, a first half play in the NBA. It doesn't matter as long as it's not a live bet. And if you win, or at least if you have to have you have to win your bet, you will be in the drawing for a week's worth of handicapper selections of one handicapper on VegasInsider.com. It's a $100 value you get for free. And if you do not have a Vegas Insider user ID, it's very easy to get one. You go up to the big yellow register button in the upper right-hand corner. Click on that. Free membership. Register now. Create a user ID, a password. Put your email address, first and last name, as well as your phone number, and our marketing team will get in touch with you if you are the winner for the contest. So it's very easy. Vegas Insider user ID, your best bet for the day, put in the comments section below. And as always, we wish you best of luck. First, let us begin with the NBA playoffs and how this whole thing turned into a major Philly meltdown last night. Both the top seeds lost in their Game 5s at home, so they're both on the ropes, the Sixers and the Jazz. But first, let's start with Philadelphia. And number one, the Sixers up, 26 points on Atlanta. They were up by 22 at the half. They get outscored 40-19 in the fourth quarter by the Atlanta Hawks. And even if the Atlanta Hawks do not advance to the Eastern Conference Championship, they still have done a fantastic job even getting to this point. And Nate McMillan took over, a guy that was dumped by the Indiana Pacers after last year. And you see the Pacers had their own head coaching problems this year. The guy they fired after one season. And McMillan took over in Atlanta for Lloyd Pierce. And this team was not in good shape. They were below 500. Since he's taken over, they not only won the Southeast Division, but also now they're one win away from making the Eastern Conference Finals. And again, it's still asking a lot even to beat Philadelphia one more time. It's still the top seed in the East, and then to get past either Brooklyn or Milwaukee in the next round. There's still a lot to go for Atlanta to get to the NBA Finals, but even if it stops now, they, at worst, their season will be Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. That's not a bad job. So Trae Young scored 39 points in the win for Atlanta. Lou Williams had a big fourth quarter. He had 15 points in the game. And the Hawks, in spite of going 9 of 26 from three-point range, they still found a way to win. And Clint Capella scored only 6 points. He had a big dunk late in that game. But Philadelphia, all right, let's talk about the Sixers and Doc Rivers. That Doc Rivers is a very good coach. Unfortunately for Doc Rivers, though, with the Clippers, they've blown leads. They blew the 3-1 lead to Denver last year, and then he lost his job. Now they're up 3-1 on Atlanta, and they end up losing Game 5 at home with the huge lead, so they have to go on the road for Game 6. Granted, they still have Game 7. Well, No, they don't have Game 7. Game 6, they got to win to get to a Game 7 back at home. Joel Embiid scored 37 points, so he was much better in Game 5 than he was in Game 4, where he was 4 of 20 from the floor. Did miss 2 free throws late that would have cut it to 1, but still, Embiid had a good game. Seth Curry had a very good game, 36 points, 7 of 12 shooting from three-point range. Now the bad. Tobias Harris, who started the series off very well, was 2 of 11 last night for 4 points. And then there's Ben Simmons, who was 4 of 14 from the free throw line. Philadelphia was 23 of 38 from the foul line last night. So 15 missed free throws. They lose by 3. They have 2 players in double figures. I wonder if you were to look back in the history of the NBA, if you've ever had a game in which 2 players scored in double figures. This has happened before. That's not the stat. You had 2 players that scored in double figures, and the second guy scored 36 points. And then the next highest guy had 8. That's what I wonder if that's ever happened before, because I got to think it has never happened, where you've had 2 guys score a bulk of the points, and then you have no one else in double figures. So Philadelphia now goes to Atlanta as a 3-point favorite to take on the Hawks coming up on Friday night. I do think Philadelphia beats them and takes it back to a Game 7. Why? Philadelphia, except for a bad first half in Game 1, where the Hawks shot lights out and were up by 20 at the half, it's been pretty much all Sixers except for, 2 good quarters the last 2 games for Atlanta. Philadelphia was up double digits at the half in Game 4 and lost, and Game 5 and lost. Philadelphia's been in control. You can't dispute that. Atlanta's found a way to come back. Whether it's Atlanta coming back or Philadelphia melting down, however you want to phrase it, I still think the Sixers win this Game 6 coming up on Friday night in Atlanta. Now, the second game last night, the Clippers, without Kawhi Leonard, they beat the Jazz 119-111. Utah shot lights out in the first half, and still they cannot get the win over this Clippers team without one of the top players in the NBA. Now, what the Clippers did well is they got help around Paul George. Well, number one, the only way the Clippers survive this is if Paul George plays like a superstar. And for the third straight game, he played extremely well. He had 37 points, he had 16 rebounds, and he helped the Clippers, or led the Clippers, to this big win on the road. Their first road win since Game 6 of the first round against Dallas. They lost the first 2 games in Utah. Marcus Morris had a good game. He had 25 points. Reggie Jackson scored 22. Terrence Mann even had 13 in place of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, no one really takes the place of Kawhi Leonard. But the Clippers shot over 50% from the floor. Now for Utah, when Donovan Mitchell scores 21 points and is 6 of 19 from the floor, that's a problem for the Jazz because they need him to have monster games. Bogdanovich hit 9 threes, which was big, 32 points. Rudy Gobert had a double-double, but a lot of criticism from him defensively. And Jordan Clarkson scored 15, and once again, there was no Mike Conley. Utah hit 23 pointers last night. They actually hit more threes than free throws. They had 19 free throws. But Utah's a short favorite coming up on Friday night at Staples Center. So both Philadelphia and Utah, the top seeds, will be favored on the road. And Utah favored on the road for the first time in the series after they were getting 5 points in each of the 2 road games in LA. So now they're a short favorite. And you got to think at least one, if not both, the favorites cover coming up on Friday night. Now let's move ahead to tonight. And the Milwaukee Bucks looking to save their season against the Brooklyn Nets. This number jacked all the way up to 6 at most places. And the Nets trying to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. Worst case scenario, Nets go back home for Game 7. The home team so far, 5-0 in this series. The underdog has covered the last 4 games. Nets covered the first one as a favorite. underdogs have covered the last 4. Not won, but covered the last 4, because Brooklyn covered game 3, but they lost that game by 3, getting 3.5. And now you wonder with the Bucks, can they rebound from this meltdown they had in game number 5 on the road? That we've seen both Milwaukee and Philadelphia the last 2 games. I mean, shoot, you could say Philadelphia's 2 games in Milwaukee. So 3 games in the East with major, just, I mean, how else can you say it? Meltdown. Simple as that. Falling apart in the second half. The Sixers twice in Milwaukee. And now with Brooklyn tonight, no Kyrie Irving for the Nets. James Harden is going to play, even though we saw how he looked in Game 5, 1 of 10 from the floor. Kevin Durant had the 49-point triple-double game in Game 5. He was outstanding. But now he's got to do it again on the road. And the Bucks, we'll see what they're made of. And I said yesterday on the show that I like Milwaukee at 10-1 to win the title. That number's dropped to, I think, 7-1 now, or 15-2, 750. So that number's dropped a little bit, considering Utah's on the ropes, Philadelphia's on the ropes, and how amazing would it be if you had Milwaukee and Atlanta in the Eastern Conference Finals? But for Brooklyn, we know what they could do if fully healthy. They're not fully healthy, and Milwaukee still has their superstar with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Chris Middleton needs to have a good game. Drew Holiday needs to have a good game. See, Giannis is not going to score 15 points. He's going to get his 30. He's going to do it. They can't stop him. And for Brooklyn, Kevin Durant can only do so much. Jeff Green's probably not hitting 7 threes again tonight. Even though that number is jacked up, I still think Milwaukee takes care of business. They've already won the first 2 at home. Brooklyn's offense has not traveled well to Milwaukee. And so far this year, Milwaukee's won all 4 games at home with Brooklyn. So I understand it's easy to say, oh, take the favorite. I mean, last night the favorites didn't come through. So you'd think they'd rebound coming up tonight. But we have seen now the underdogs come around, as going back to Monday, you've had so far, 4-1 with the underdogs. Hawks won at home Monday. Clippers won, so that's the only favorite. Nets, a winner at home last night, Hawks and Clippers. So you've had a nice little run of underdogs of late. And even going back to Sunday, you had a split there because the Suns were favored and the Bucks were a dog. So you've had a nice underdog run. Now you wonder if the favorites come back or if this underdog run continues. And that's the only game tonight in the NBA. Philly, Atlanta tomorrow, Utah, and the Clippers tomorrow. And this will make for a very interesting conference finals matchup, whatever we get. Phoenix is already in, and they have the Chris Paul situation to deal with. Now, he's sitting out for a few days. Depending on what happens with this Jazz-Clippers series, if Utah wins Game 6, they still got a Game 7 Sunday, so we don't know the timeline with Chris Paul, but he'll have already sat out a few days. So you just hope that he's not missing an entire series with this situation. Again, we don't know the severity of it with the COVID and with the protocols, but he's already missing it. He's already started the process, and the Suns aren't playing anyway. So I think that's the only good news for Phoenix right now. Let us look at now Major League Baseball. And we'll look ahead to today and tonight. And let's start off, shall we, with the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Arizona Diamondbacks, the Snakes, they have lost 22 consecutive road games. I don't know. That, I believe, has tied the Major League Baseball record, to lose 22 in a row. It is nearly impossible to do, especially a game like baseball. You'd think one would go your way. Arizona was up 7-0 2 nights ago and lost to San Francisco. They were up 2-0 in the top of the first last night. Giants came back with 4 in the bottom of the first inning, and then San Francisco won. The final score is 13-7. So Arizona's actually scored 15 runs the last 2 games and still have lost. And San Francisco going for the 4-game sweep today. They go with Kevin Gausman on the mound. And Gausman, who I touted as someone to keep an eye out for in the Cy Young race. 4 innings, 2 earned runs his last time out, and a loss to Washington. But he still has had a fantastic season, 7-1, ERA of 1.43. Gausman's behind the likes of Jacob deGrom and Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns of the Brewers inside the National League for the Cy Young race right now. Zach Gallen, who's been out for a while, pretty much the top prize in the Arizona rotation. We'll see how he responds. ERA of 3.04, first start since May 7th. And Gallen is responsible for not Arizona's last road win, but the road win before that, which was the same day. So Arizona, actually, what's funny about them is they won, the last time they won a road game, they won 2 road games in the same day. That was at Atlanta because they had a 7-inning doubleheader against the Braves. This was back on April 25th. All right. Zach Gallen helped beat the Braves 5-0. Then Madison Bumgarner threw a no-hitter that wasn't called a no-hitter in a 7-inning game. And that was the last time Arizona won a road game, which was 2 in the same day on April 25th. That was before the NFL draft. That just shows you how long it's been since Arizona's won a road game. They've lost 22 in a row. And Zach Gallen's a heavy underdog today, which, again, he should be because Arizona's been terrible and they can't win. But you just wonder if a guy like Gallen, who has the ability to be an ace for Arizona, if he's all right, if his elbow's all right, because he's been out for a little bit. Cubs and Mets from Citi Field, and the Cubs trying to avoid the sweep tonight against the Mets. When these teams met at Wrigley Field earlier in the season, Chicago pulled off the 3-game sweep. New York trying to do the same tonight. Actually, this would be a 4-game sweep if the Mets are able to do it. Mets are 20-6 at home. Best home record in baseball. Jacob deGrom went only 3 innings last night. I don't know why they just don't sit him for a little bit. But this is how good deGrom is. So last night, he recorded 9 outs. He had 8 strikeouts. He recorded 9 outs, 8 of them struck out, which is a crazy stat. And the Cubs so far in this series, they've scored 7 runs against the Mets. And when you look back at it, this number I pulled up earlier today is amazing with the Mets and what they've done at home. And I know some of the opponents they played haven't been great, but now they're facing the Padres and Cubs in back-to-back series. That the New York Mets have allowed 3 runs or less in 14 of the past 15 home games, all right? The only time they allowed more than 3 runs came in Sunday's loss to San Diego, 7-3. Fernando Tatis Jr. hit a grand slam in the 7th inning, and then Manny Machado followed up with a solo homer. That was a 2-1 game going to the 7th, and then San Diego blew up in that 1 inning. That's the only real bad pitching performance the Mets have had at home in about a month, which is crazy. And Marcus Stroman has pitched very well, coming off back-to-back dog wins against the Padres. Now he's favored. Kyle Hendricks has been on fire. He's won 5 in a row. But New York, though, they keep doing it at home. And we'll see what the deGrom situation is moving forward. But you got 2 top pitchers going tonight in that matchup. St. Louis is at Atlanta. And the Braves are 30-35. My God. Back-to-back 10-8 losses to Boston. They've lost 6 of 7. Only win coming over the Marlins in this stretch. Now Charlie Morton on the mound tonight for Atlanta. And the offense has helped them out recently. Last 3 starts at home, they've scored 5 or more. Here's a little nugget on St. Louis, which I find very interesting. Well, the Cardinals are coming off a 3-game sweep of the Marlins. They won 1-0 yesterday. 3 low-scoring games, 4-2, 2-1, and 1-0 against the Marlins, who are terrible on the road. But St. Louis, in their last 10 road losses, they've lost each of them by 2 runs or more. So when they lose, I don't want to say get blown out. Because you lose a game 2-0, you're not blown out. But they are not losing these games close on the road. And the Cardinals recently 1-6 their last 7 road games. Now they're going to Atlanta tonight. John Gant, who picked up a pair of really nice underdog wins on the road against the White Sox and Dodgers, he's 0-2 in his last 2 starts. Cubs and Reds lost to both of them. So Atlanta, heavy favorite there against St. Louis. Milwaukee's at Colorado. I love this number. Brandon Woodruff, who is one of the Cy Young candidates this year, he takes them out for Milwaukee. So far this season, in 6 road starts, in Woodruff's 6 road starts, Milwaukee's 6-0 to the under. Dating back to last season, the start of 2020, Milwaukee is 13-1 to the under in Woodruff's last 14 road starts. And he goes against German Marquez, who has pitched well at home recently, was racked by the Reds his last time out, but at home he's pitched very well. But Milwaukee also 3-7 this season in road series openers, and they just got swept by the Reds at home. And Colorado's coming off a 3-game sweep of San Diego. So, again, do you ride that Rockies? This still is baffling to me. The Rockies are 28-41. Okay, that's not great, but they were expected to do nothing this year after Nolan Arenado got traded to St. Louis. They were really expected to have – they have basically 2 names, Trevor Story and Charlie Blackmon. And Blackmon hasn't even had that great of a season. Colorado's 28-41 overall. They're 23-14 at home. So 5-27 on the road. Colorado was god-awful on the road, but at home they've held their own this year. And then some. I mean, a 23-14 record. Granted, that's 2 more games played than San Diego, who we'll get to in a second. But the Padres are 21-14 at home, and the Rockies, who really aren't expected to do anything, are 23-14 at home. So really good job by the Rockies. Now they get the Brewers, and this will be a tough test with Brandon Woodruff tonight. That total is 10, as I discussed that total trend with Woodruff, but that's a high total. You don't see 10 totals of Brandon Woodruff ever. Cincinnati at San Diego, that should be a really good game and a really good series, considering now the Reds have come back to life. They're 35-31, and the Reds of late swept the Cardinals on the road, swept the Brewers on the road. Now they go out to San Diego, and the Padres, who just lost 3 at Colorado, and Blake Snell can't win on the road. Now they turn to Joe Musgrove. And Musgrove, 2.50 ERA, but he is winless in his last 3 starts. At home, he's been better. I mean, he had the no-hitter on the road at Texas earlier in the season. But when you look at some of his last few wins at home, well, it beat Colorado, who's a terrible road team. Beat St. Louis, who has been bad on the road. I don't know how much I trust Joe Musgrove here. Wade Miley goes for Cincinnati, and Miley is coming off a really good start. The problem with Wade Miley is, can he do it back-to-back? Because we saw the no-hitter against Cleveland back in early May. His next start at Colorado, he gave up 8 runs. So that's kind of the concern with Wade Miley. But the Reds have hit the over in his last 3 starts, and they're 3-0 in those 3 starts, and they've scored 11, 8, and 10. So they're giving Miley run support. And Cincinnati, they've won 6 in a row. So they had a good start to the season, then fell apart. Now they're playing well again in that wide-open Central, even though the Reds picked up some games on the Brewers, but Milwaukee's still leading, and Chicago is right there too, because both the Brewers and Cubs have lost 3 in a row each. In the American League, first game getting going in just a little bit, Baltimore and Cleveland. And the Diamondbacks have 22 straight road losses. Baltimore's 18. So the Orioles are right behind the Diamondbacks for that long road losing streak. Baltimore actually competed very well last night, but they lost to the Indians 8-7. And now Baltimore tries to avoid another sweep on the road as they go with Jorge Lopez, who actually has been a really good under pitcher on the road this season. He just beat the Indians at home. And Baltimore's 5-1 to the under, and Lopez's 6 road starts. Eli Morgan goes for Cleveland. He got racked by the Blue Jays in his first career start. Now he goes again. And look at that line. It's down to 120 at some places. And obviously Cleveland outclasses Baltimore, so that's something to watch out for. Now, the next game, we start to the night action. Yankees and Blue Jays. Garrett Cole beat the Blue Jays again last night. And now it's Michael King and TJ Zeuch on the mound, basically a pick'em. And the Yankees, all of a sudden, they're coming back to life a little bit against Toronto in this series against the Blue Jays up in Buffalo. Couple one-run wins, 6-5 and 3-2. So the Yankees go for the sweep tonight before they return home for a big series against the A's this weekend. And Toronto all of a sudden has lost 3 straight since that 8-home run game against Boston back earlier in the week. And Michael King goes for New York. King, I mean, the numbers aren't great. His last 3 starts, all losses. And he's given up in that span 8 earned runs. 8 earned runs in 11 1/3 innings. So that's not good, and you see the total at 10.5. By the way, too, the Yankees were on a huge overrun before last night, and Garrett Cole has now 3 unders he's posted against the Blue Jays this season. White Sox and Astros, that's going to be a really good series in Houston this weekend. Jose Urquidy and Dylan Cease on the mound. The White Sox blew a big lead to the Rays yesterday, but they won in extras 8-7. So Chicago now, they've won 6 of 7. And the White Sox pretty much pulling away in the American League Central. Houston beat Texas again at home. And they've scored the last 3 games, now 28 runs. So the Astros offense has really picked up. And now they get Chicago, who, again, they fare better against lefties than righties. And as far as the right-handed numbers go on the road of late for the White Sox, 3-2, 3-4, not great. So 3-4 the last 7 on the road for Chicago. Also, they went through a stretch where they played the Tigers a lot. They played a 4-game series against Baltimore. They play the Twins and Royals a lot. So now Chicago's really going to be tested here. And for as good as they are, and they're a bit dinged up with their offense, Houston, though, they continue to win. And the Astros right now, 22-13 at home. And the White Sox, 27-12 at home, which is 16-13 on the road. And obviously, look at that, 39 home games compared to 29 road games. So they need to pick it up. They'll play a lot of road games coming up. The Tigers and Angels tonight, Shohei Ohtani on the mound for LA after they just got swept at Oakland. So now they get Detroit. And the Tigers off a 3-game sweep of Kansas City on the road. So good job by the Tigers of late. Now they get Ohtani tonight. The Angels, they've been kind of bullies because they swept Arizona. They swept Kansas City. They split 4 with Seattle. So they've really picked it up of late, the Angels, against teams that they should be beating. But now they get Detroit, who, again, is playing with some confidence. And Shohei Ohtani, his numbers of late, he's actually, when you go through, his last start came against the Diamondbacks, 5 innings, game that went over the total of 9. And before that, the Angels beat the Mariners. He's actually not had great run support in a lot of his games. He finally got good run support his last time out against Arizona. But usually a lot of low-scoring games with Ohtani when he's on the mound. And now the Angels back at home as a really heavy favorite against the Detroit team, who is playing well at the moment. The Rays and the Mariners wrap up the night out in Seattle. And the Mariners couldn't get the sweep of the Twins last night. Minnesota won that game 7-2, but Seattle still playing pretty well. And Rich Hill goes for Tampa Bay. He had a terrible start to the season, but he went on a nice run for about 6 starts where he allowed a total of 3 earned runs, but got knocked around a little bit his last time out. Less than 5 innings, 4 earned runs. He gave up in a 5-4 win over Baltimore, but he has still been pretty good where Tampa Bay is 5-1 in his last 6 starts. And now he takes the mound against the Mariners. And Justin Dunn, who he's got a 3.91 ERA, but only 1 win on the season. He's been respectable at home, 2.95 ERA. But last time out, allowed 5 earned runs in 3 innings against Cleveland. And now he's a nice dog against the Rays tonight. His last few times as a dog, lost to San Diego, lost to the Dodgers, lost to Houston. So those are really good teams. And that's very difficult. Those are very difficult tasks there. But also he's been on the winning side against the Red Sox and White Sox. So he's been tested, Justin Dunn. It's just about if they can do against this Tampa Bay team, who is still an excellent team, the reigning American League champions. In the NHL last night, the Montreal Canadiens, they are not going to go away, are they? They beat Vegas 3-2. 2 in the first, and they end up holding off Vegas, plus 235 underdogs for the Canadiens. So now they're tied up at 1 going back to Montreal. Oh boy, is that crazy if Montreal could sneak out maybe another one at home? We know they're capable of winning on the road. And they were down 3-1 at Toronto. They were dead in the water. They won 3 straight. They swept Winnipeg. And now they split the first 2 with an excellent Vegas team. So they'll play again coming up on Friday. Now let's go to, I don't know why I clicked on that. Now let's go to tonight and the Lightning heading to New York to face the Islanders. Lightning picked up a big win in Game 2, so now that series tied up at 1 heading to New York. And the Lightning favor on the road, which they should be. Because Lightning, better team than the Islanders. And New York has put up a really good postseason so far. But in spite of beating Pittsburgh and beating Boston in the first 2 series, now you get an Islanders team, or you get a Lightning team rather, that they get squeezed in the opener by a goal. And now they're playing a little bit better. They've played well on the road so far in the playoffs. And yeah, I think everybody wants that Tampa Bay Vegas Stanley Cup final, but Montreal's not going to go down lightly. They're not, which is good to see, even though that's not the team anybody expected, but at least they're putting up a good fight here, and they're in the 3rd round already. Also, U.S. Open underway, so you want to keep track of that. You could find our future odds, which we'll keep updated throughout the weekend, for the U.S. Open out in California, and plenty of articles to peruse if you want, as the action getting going, and it's out west, so it's a little behind, obviously the East Coast. Also, the Ally 400 is this weekend in Nashville. You also have UFC 29, Vegas 29, and of course the Euro 2020 continues with more action daily, and our man Toby Maxstone Smith, he is all over these games. Belgium and Denmark underway right now in the first half. Denmark with a 1-0 lead over Belgium. The Ukraine holds off North Macedonia 2-1. You have Austria and the Netherlands coming up later. So the action continues. And then tomorrow, the 3 games: Slovakia, Sweden, Czech Republic, and Croatia, Scotland, and England. So if you want to keep your eye on Euro 2020 as well as the predictions, check out Toby Maxstone Smith. He has the predictions and the previews every single day here on VegasInsider.com. Also, if you want to purchase picks for the NBA, for Major League Baseball, for the NHL, just go to the Buy Picks link under MLB, NBA, NHL, or WNBA, and you can find our picks for purchase for all of these sports. If you go to Daily Expert Picks, these are the picks for the day for each of the handicappers, $29.95, and you click on whoever you like, and you'll get their picks for the day. Also, the guaranteed picks, and this is universal among every sport. Pay after it wins, $39.95. So it's one pick, best pick of the day, and if it wins, you pay the $39.95, but you won the pick. If it loses, you pay nothing. Simple as that. So pay after it wins, guaranteed pick for Major League Baseball, NBA, and the NHL. And also, again, to remind you about the Daily Insider contest, which you can play for free here on VegasInsider.com on our YouTube channel. Put your Vegas Insider user ID along with your best bet for the day below in the comments section. The best bet can be NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, WNBA. It cannot be a live bet. It's got to be before the game. But it can be a player prop bet. It could be a first quarter bet. It could be a first half bet. It could be a first 5-inning bet. Doesn't matter. It just cannot be a live bet. And it can't be a future bet. And put your user ID, your Vegas Insider user ID, along with your best bet for the day in the comments section below. And if you win, you'll be in the drawing for a week's worth of free picks from a handicapper of your choosing on VegasInsider.com. If you are new to this video and so what we do every day, we welcome you. But also, you can register for a free user ID at VegasInsider.com. The big yellow register button, click it in the upper right-hand corner. Free membership, register now. Again, it's free. Can't stress that enough. Create a user ID and password, email address, first and last name, and we should need that contact information so we can track you down if you're the winner. So, with all that being said, that's it for today's edition of the Daily Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. And as always, best of luck.